Welcome back into the Estadio Cuauhtémoc here in Puebla as we're getting set for the third-place match, Cuba and El Salvador. Let's look at the starting lineups first for Raul Gonzalez's Cuba.
Sandy Sanchez in goal, Labrada, Collado, Piedra, and Martinez at the back. The players that have impressed me so far, Araquil Hernandez, and then, of course, number 9, Michael Reyes, who's been in good goal-scoring form so far in the tournament.
And for El Salvador, managed by Mauricio Alfaro.
But we've seen all about Rolando Morales so far in the tournament. Played very well in his last 2 games. Ayala will anchor the back 4. And then looking forward, number 7, Jairo Enriquez has been in good goal-scoring form. He will partner Jose Peña in attack.
Our match referee here today, Raul Castro from Honduras. And we are underway here at the Estadio Cuauhtémoc in Puebla. Game being played before a very small crowd right now, friends and family only. And Cuba in the all-whites and El Salvador wearing the all-blue strip here today.
It's going to be interesting to see how El Salvador approach this game because they've been very defensive and it's been to their good over the last few games. They defended deep and tried to hit on the counter-attack, but pressure off a little bit today. Will they try go at this Cuba side and really dictate the tempo of this game?
Again, both Cuba and El Salvador have mission accomplished. They are in the FIFA Under-20 World Cup coming up this summer in Turkey. Hernandez for Cuba, trying to get down that right flank. Gonzalez takes the knock and wins a free kick for El Salvador. Once again, the band, as we've become accustomed to here in Puebla, doing its thing. Mejia. Lemouche. Jairo Enriquez for El Salvador. Turns it over. Piedra on the touch there for Cuba.
Cuba trying to press quite high there when El Salvador had possession, won it back quickly, and El Salvador more of a side that likes a team to come out and attack them and then exploit the space in behind them, play in front.
Moises Mejia bangs it upfield, but it's headed the other way by Daniel Luis Saez. Beautiful conditions here today in Puebla, 69 degrees, no humidity so to speak of, and not much of a breeze either. Partly cloudy, couldn't ask for better playing conditions for this third-place matchup.
But as you mentioned, these players have played a number of games over a short space of time, and it does begin to tell, and that's where squad management comes into play for these managers. It's very important that they take control and recognize which players need to be rested.
There's a good look again at Raul Castro, the referee here today. Zabaleta for El Salvador, central defender. Rene Gomez, the captain, dispossessed there by Alexis Collado. Collado on it for Cuba. Back to Abel Martinez. Here's Yosiel Piedra. Down that right flank for Santa Cruz. And it's Reyes knocked away at the last second by Giovanni Zabaleta.
Well, it's good attack from Cuba, and they showed this in the group stages. They can be very explosive going forward. For me, it was Miguel Lemus, just caught in between, didn't know whether he wanted to press out wide, and it was too easy to get down El Salvador's left-hand side. Almost bringing the chance for Michael Reyes, and we know he certainly is a goal-scoring threat.
Good tackle there by Zabaleta. There's Rolando Morales, who, as we showed you in our opening segment, was fantastic against Mexico in the semi-final. Dairon Perez for Cuba with the corner kick, and it's cleared away at the near post. They'll do it again as Ayala touched it out.
But it's a poor delivery, but it's also poor defending from El Salvador because they have an opportunity to clear that ball, and instead they give Cuba yet another chance to rectify the mistake of not delivering the ball well the first time.
And in the semifinal, which I did for El Salvador against Mexico, El Salvador gave up tons of early set pieces, and that's what ended up coming back to bite them deep into the second half on those 2 goals. And speaking of opportunities off set pieces, Reyes wide open in front, puts the header wide, should have put it on frame.
Morales comes out, and if a goalkeeper comes that far off his line, he has to be commanding. Reyes with a simple header, and he'll look back, and you can see from his body language, he feels he should have put that in the back of the net. You'll see Morales come out off his line, just doesn't command, and that header should go into the back of the net. Morales, if he stays on his line, it's a routine catch for the goalkeeper. Caught in no man's land.
Can goalies get worn down playing 3 games in 5 days too? I mean, he was super busy in that semifinal against Mexico.
Well, I think we look at some of the things that he did well. He made a lot of good saves off shots, so he's a good shot stopper. But on some of those corners and set pieces, he didn't always look commanding in his area. So I think it's the one area where you look at Rolando Morales and say he has to improve that part of his game moving forward.
There you see the foul as Melvin Alfaro is brought down. So El Salvador with the free kick, and that's a shot from way out by Ayala. Obviously not going to get through the defense right there. Throw in here near side for Melvin Alfaro. Ayala back to Alfaro. Lemouche. Ayala. Here's Rene Gomez. Zavaleta over to Miguel Lemouche on the left. Jordan Santa Cruz gives it away. Right back to Mejia. Good little combination here from El Salvador.
And they've had possession on a couple of occasions, just in and around the halfway line, and I don't get the sense they're actually going anywhere with it. Cuba quite comfortable.
Mejia. Back to Enriquez. Zavaleta for El Salvador. Here's Moises Mejia. Colado for Cuba. They give it away. Alfaro. Ball runs out of play. It'll be a throw in here for Cuba in the 7th minute. What an accomplishment for both Cuba and El Salvador to get to the FIFA Under-20 World Cup. Ooh, looked like Sandy Sanchez might have been outside his box there playing that ball.
Well, he came all the way out, and then he decided to let it go back in, and I think where he actually caught it, his hands were inside the box. His feet might have been outside. Strange decision from the goalkeeper, but it worked out in the end.
Mejia to Zavaleta.
You can see that Cuba trying to press high with 3 players. It's important that El Salvador exploit that and get the ball forward a little bit quicker than they have been so far.
Alfaro gets past Piedra. Lemouche gives it away. Here's Reyes. Long ball down the right to Jordan Santa Cruz. Good tackle there by Moises Mejia. Should mention that one of the central defenders for El Salvador had a big factor most of this tournament. Marvin Baumgartner ineligible today, thanks to an accumulation of yellow cards.
I still think at these stages of tournaments, you shouldn't miss the final game based on an accumulation of yellow cards. These players have worked too hard for too long to get to that position to miss out on a game just because of a couple of yellows.
There's that band we were talking about a little while ago.
I can tell you're a big fan of this band.
My ears have gotten used to it. It's a little easier to listen to than, in my opinion, what we heard in South Africa.
Yes, definitely.
Gomez to Enriquez. Not a fan of the Vuvuzela.
I could tell.
Not for a month. Morales comes out to knock it out.
Reyes has got real pace, and That's the one issue for El Salvador. If they do want to dictate the tempo and push on, Reyes can certainly exploit space in behind.
Crossed in, but Morales able to cover there at the near post. Collegiate-like atmosphere here right now.
That was a terrible decision by Morales to throw that ball out to his player under pressure. El Salvador get away with it.
Another look. Morales beating Reyes to the ball.
When you have pace like that in attack, it's important that the goalkeeper does act as a sweeper in behind and stay very alert and stay connected. Morales done a good job on that occasion.
Martinez knocks it out for Cuba. Kevin Ayala takes a throw in for El Salvador to Rene Gomez. Here's Jairo Enriquez on it. He's dispossessed. And Cuba wins the free kick here in the 11th minute as Dairon Perez taken down.
It's a definite foul. Yeah, difficult angle to make that challenge from and try win the ball. So was always going to favor the attacking player.
Rolando Morales distributes to Zavaleta. Enriquez can't keep it in.
You see very early into the game, but El Salvador having more pockets of possession. You just wonder where they're going to go with it. It seems to me that Cuba have more firepower in the attacking third than either side, and we saw it on that one occasion when Reyes tried to get in behind.
Vaquero takes the throw in for Cuba. Zavaleta breaks it up. Once again, Cuba in the all-white, El Salvador wearing the all-blue strip. Ayala for El Salvador on the interception. Here's Zavaleta. Plays it across to Mejia. Gonzalez, the header, but it's turned over to Vaquero. Handball, and they get away with it.
Well, it looked like the ball cut up, and not only did he handle it, but he controlled possession with the handball. A lucky break for El Salvador.
Cross coming in, but too much on that for Jose Pena.
Very open at the back. Cuba, that's the first time we've seen a delivery go into the box, but Lemus very lucky to have had possession. Looked like a definite handball.
No score, 13th minute here at the Estadio Cuauhtémoc in Puebla, Mexico, in this CONCACAF Under-20 Championship third place match. Enriquez plays it back. Here's Rene Gomez. Lamouche plays it to Mejia. Miguel Lamouche turns it over. Cuba looked to capitalize, try to get it to Archil Hernandez, but too much on that.
He's another player with pace, showing good attacking intent in this tournament so far. The first couple of minutes, Cuba pressed a little bit higher. Here you see the front three, dropped off slightly.
Martinez plays it out of the back. Mejia knocks it out, and it'll be a throw in here for Cuba. One good chance so far in this opening 14-plus minutes, that coming off the corner kick where Michael Reyes pretty much had an open net and put it wide. But El Salvador have not been able to get the offense going.
Rene Gomez, he's one of the players that has to pull the strings in the middle of midfield. You see him on the ground, and when he gets on the ball, I think they can be a little bit quicker to go forward and take out the three attacking players. Create those extra numbers in wide areas. That's a silly challenge for Alexis Calado.
Ball a little too much on it for Kevin Ayala to track down. Be a goal kick here for Cuba. Some of the Mexico fans starting to file into this Estadio Cuauhtémoc. It's a double header here. The main attraction comes your way later this afternoon, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific time. It's Mexico and the United States in the championship game of this CONCACAF Under-20 championship. And I think before the tournament, just about everybody wanted to see that final lined up.
I think certainly from a U.S. perspective, you want to play in a game like that, in an atmosphere like that, and the players will only benefit from that experience. And you know, Mexico being the best side in the tournament so far, but nice to go into this game knowing you're already in the World Cup. Maybe the pressure's on the hosts. Let's hope the U.S. can pull off an upset. Is that being too biased?
Nope. Expect nothing less. Calado over to Piedra. No score here in the 17th minute. Abel Martinez wins the ball for Cuba. Martinez on it again. He's got so much range, as does that man, Michael Reyes. They turn it over. Here's Alfaro. Ayala for El Salvador. Olivier Ayala. Gonzalez back to Ayala. Zavaleta. Touched by Gomez, but Cuba able to intercept.
Well, again, it's good football, but you just don't see the goals coming from El Salvador. And you felt that way when they played against Panama too, but they lulled Panama forward and caught them on the counter on a couple of occasions. But so far, they really haven't been penetrating with that possession. Haven't really got much going forward to Peña.
Zavaleta over to Moises Mejia. Here's Miguel Lamouche.
Well, Lamouche is asking for the players further forward to give him more movement. He wasn't happy, he had no options to go forward, so El Salvador have to come out and try the other side.
Martinez for Cuba. The throw in here for El Salvador in the 19th minute. And their manager, Mauricio Alfaro, is up, giving orders.
Maybe asking for a little bit more urgency when they get the ball in midfield. These areas here, lots of possession. Just doesn't go anywhere.
Mejia. Wasteful ball.
I think his argument is there is no movement further forward, but you just stay patient and keep possession.
Colado. Saez. Turned over to Alfaro. Ayala plays ball at the back. A little bit of a rash challenge there by Daniel Luis Saez, the captain for Cuba, as he knocks down Roberto Gonzalez.
Well, they're very athletic, Cuba, all over the park. And that was just a robust challenge. Gonzalez found the space and absolutely no way he was getting through, but gives you a glimpse of the power that they have throughout their side, Cuba. Maybe not as technically gifted as some other teams, but they do have a lot of pace and a lot of power throughout that starting lineup.
Lemouche. Communication off a little bit there for El Salvador, as Gonzalez expected Pena to make a run, but he didn't.
Well, it looked to me like Hernandez went in with his studs.
Ayala still on the ground in pain. Here's another look at the challenge. There's also, I think, the elbow.
Yeah, he went in studs on the tackle, and then the elbow. I don't necessarily think there was intent to hurt. It was more of clearing the space and trying to protect himself. As we've mentioned, it's such a powerful team, Cuba. I don't think El Salvador are matched physically.
'22nd minute, Cuba and El Salvador scoreless here at the Estadio Cuauhtémoc in Puebla. Both these sides losing 2-0 in the semifinals. Cuba to the United States, and Mexico defeating El Salvador by that same scoreline as Ayala looks to shake it off. Cuba look to break out, but it's stolen there by Jose Pena. Ball rolls though to Sandy Sanchez, the goalkeeper for Cuba. An uneventful first 22 plus minutes here. Let's be honest, Keith.
We talk about third place playoff matches and you wonder why they're inserted into a tournament, and the first 22 minutes might suggest they're not always the best idea. I'm trying to be as nice as possible.
Yes. Zavaleta plays it back to Morales. Mejia outside of the left foot. Piedra wins the header for Cuba. Santa Cruz, there's contact in the box as Lemouche is down, and it's going to be a foul against Cuba.
Well, they've been very strong in their challenges so far, Cuba. Again, you see that elbow up and contact a little bit lower too on Lemus. Referee will have to watch one or two of these challenges.
'24th minute. It's Morales taking the free kick for El Salvador. And over the back there is Daniel Luis Saez for Cuba, right in front of Raul Castro's eyes.
Maybe a chance here for El Salvador to get the ball forward, and look at the two sides. Again, it's just a rash challenge. He's no chance of getting through the player to get the ball. And Luis Saez gives away a needless free kick, but you would imagine it wouldn't be in their best interest to try serve this into the area because of how big physically Cuba are, but they've made some rash challenges so far, Cuba, so maybe worth the effort.
Enriquez into the box, but Abel Martinez is able to head that out, but El Salvador back onto it. They play it to the far post, and there's nobody there.
Well, of the two teams so far, El Salvador have been the ones who've tried to get the ball down and play, and maybe Cuba very wary of the fact that El Salvador have sat back and trying to play them at their own game, but Cuba should be a little bit more forward thinking when they have possession.
A little high boot there, and it'll be a free kick here for Cuba.
Alexis Calado just drops his head to try win the ball, and what comes up. Again, they call it dangerous play, but both players definitely going for the ball.
Jose Pena, the guilty party right there. Santa Cruz, good possession there for Cuba. Reyes with the touch to the left wing. He's continuing his run and he's open in the box. Cuba not able to get the ball in there. Gomez on the interception. El Salvador look to start the counterattack. Playing up for Jose Pena, but the ball rolls too far for him, right to Sandy Sanchez.
That's the first time we've seen Cuba go forward, get numbers forward, and you saw what El Salvador are good at doing, which is trying to hit on that counter quickly, looking to get Pena in behind. That's what Cuba are very wary of. They haven't done enough to get the ball up front to Michael Reyes.
Daniel Luis Saez on it for Cuba. There's Yosiel Piedra. Santa Cruz down the right wing for Cuba. To the end line. Muscled off the ball. And Alfaro starts the other way for El Salvador. Gomez to the right. Good step over there by Enriquez. This is better from El Salvador. Here's Lamouche. Trying to get it to Jose Pena, the target man for El Salvador. Again, beautiful day here in Puebla.
Looking for the positives on the game so far. Good band as well.
Good band, good music, good weather. Where are the drinks?
Well, there's a saying that in any tournament, the third place match is always the easiest ticket to get and the cheapest ticket. And again, we're seeing why.
But it is a doubleheader, and the nightcap is a tough ticket.
It's going to be a very good game. Very big test for Tab Ramos, but one he wanted coming into this tournament. I know the U.S. players will be really up for this game.
Ayala. Mejia. Back to Ayala. Floppy ball there. Turned over to Hernandez. Luis Saez. There'll be a throw in here far side for El Salvador. Minute 30, still no score between Cuba and El Salvador. Mejia to Lamouche. Mejia. Zavaleta. Turns it over to Reyes. Mikel Reyes. For the man making the run, but good read there by Moises Mejia. Piedra wins the tackle for Cuba. Mejia back to Morales. Different story today for Rolando Morales, the El Salvador keeper, compared to Friday night against Mexico.
And he just had that one early blunder when he came out for the corner kick and allowed the chance for Mikel Reyes. Since then, relatively untested.
Gomez from distance, high and wide.
At least he had some ambition going forward. Would have been a spectacular goal from that distance, but we haven't really seen either team take it upon themselves to go forward and take chances. After 30 minutes, that may be in our halftime highlight package.
Cuba all white, El Salvador in the all blue. This stadium playing host to games in both the 1970 and 1986 World Cups. A little different atmosphere for those games.
But I think anytime Mexico has hosted an event, they've done a first-class job.
Absolutely. Mejia back to Zavaleta. Here's Mejia. Trying to amuse myself, Keith. Help me out. Here's Enriquez for El Salvador.
To be fair to these players too, they know it's a double-header today, and they know everything surrounds that final game. It's difficult not to take your eyes off the prize, given the goal you had coming into this tournament has already been completed, which is qualification for the World Cup. So both of these sides have done everything needed, and now it's a case of they both look like they have one eye on that flight going home.
Again, the four semi-finalists in this tournament advancing to the FIFA Under-20 World Cup coming up this summer in Turkey, and that was the goal for all of these CONCACAF nations in this Under-20 championship, get to the semi-finals.
And I can guarantee you, even though Mexico and the US have both qualified, it will be a final where both teams really want to win it. That rivalry, had the chance to catch up with some of the U17 national team players, Junior Flores and Ruben recently, and they were saying the rivalry for the US is every time they play Mexico, they want to beat them. That feeling is reciprocated by the Mexican side. Should make for a very entertaining matchup later today.
Martinez for Cuba. Back to Sandy Sanchez. A little trouble with the touch. Martinez getting in a little trouble here in the corner, hounded by Roberto Gonzalez. Gomez for El Salvador turns it back over. And here comes Cuba. It's Arachil Hernandez. Too much on that ball, and Morales tracks it down. Santa Cruz made the run, appreciated the thought. Mejia. Gomez. Double team knocked off the ball by Reyes, and Reyes committing the foul.
I've just seen a number of those robust challenges from the Cuban players. Very physical side. It's just reckless. He's gone in with his studs up, and there's really no need to go to ground there. And I think that's the argument from El Salvador and Jairo Enriquez. Just a rash challenge.
Gomez on the interception. Here's Zavaleta. Mejia. Labrada for Cuba. Perez. Luis Saez tripped up, drawing the free kicker. Check that. Garachil Hernandez.
Haven't seen him get as far forward as he would like. But Cuba, last couple of minutes, just seem a little bit more interested in trying to get possession going forward.
So free kick here in the 36th minute for Cuba. And that is right to Rolando Morales.
A poor free kick, and caught in about 3 months is what he wanted to do. Was calling for his players to come out and make space. In the end, it was an awful delivery. Easy for the goalkeeper.
Alfaro for El Salvador. Tracked by Piedra. Good cross, but well read by the Cuban defense. Santa Cruz for Cuba. Gets it back on the right flank. Hernandez. To Reyes, back to Hernandez, back to Reyes. Reyes trying to make inroads, but Ayala with the good read.
You can see in flashes what Reyes has. Bags of pace. Raw in terms of technical ability, that's for sure. But he can be a match winner. We saw early on the issues El Salvador had with corner kicks. We saw it in the semi-final matchup as well.
Corner kick here in minute 38 for Cuba. Lined up by Dairon Perez. And that ball crossing the end line.
There's 2 out of 3 of those corner kicks that have been delivered poorly. Reyes trying to claim that he took a knock in the face.
Morales booms it downfield.
The claim from Penny is that he was pushed in the back, but I think the defender has every right to go for that ball. Penny just out-muscled.
Vaquero told to move a few steps back here for this throw-in. 4-1 at that. Cuba get the ball back. Here's Hernandez to Collado. Vaquero. Labrada. Headed out by Lamouche. Zavaleta over to Lamouche. Zavaleta to Moises Mejia. Mejia to Giovanni Zavaleta. As we hit the 41st minute mark. A scoreless first half. Collado to Santa Cruz. Reyes down the right flank. Mejia on him. Good ball by Reyes. Over to the left, and the shot blocked by Kevin Ayala.
Well, Reyes gets involved. Good things will happen going forward for Cuba. Drifted over to the area where Lemus is supposed to defend. Good run forward. Good delivery back in. And Dairon Perez. A very good block from the defender, Kevin Ayala. But better stuff from Cuba going forward. It's always going to center around that number 9, Michael Reyes.
Whoa! Daniel Luis Saez with a little aggressive play there with his head.
We just saw a couple of weeks ago in the Premier League, Samir Nasri be red carded for something very similar. Luckily for him, the El Salvador player didn't drop to the ground.
Corner kick here for Cuba. And a little too much on it for Michael Reyes. He and Gomez were battling far post. Another look at it.
Olivier Ayala arguing with him, and luckily for him, Ayala, and you've seen professional players go to ground, roll around, but Ayala stayed on his feet, and because of that, he's probably saved Saez in this game. Could have been red carded for that. You can't go to someone's head and can't make any kind of contact in those situations. A lucky break for Cuba.
Ball knocked out by Ayala. You throw in here for Cuba in the 43rd minute. Piedra. Gonzalez winning a free kick here for El Salvador. It's getting a little bit chippy now toward the end of this first half. And, oh, we've got a red card. Jordan Santa Cruz is shown the red by Raul Castro. We'll have to see what he did, as Lamouche is still down. Hopefully we get a good replay of this.
Well, we've seen a number of challenges where the Cuban players have been reckless, to say the least. You saw it a couple of minutes ago with Daniel Luis Saez. Actually, the skipper, on that occasion, watch on the replay whether the red card was warranted.
So Cuba down to 10 men. It's so ironic that Raul Castro didn't give the red a few minutes ago for that header that we were watching, and
well, sometimes
like a makeup call.
Well, sometimes that's the issue with referees. One thing happens and then they allow it to boil over onto the next. We'll see here. Well, that's the initial challenge, and well, he's not in this picture, Santa Cruz, so I don't think the rectors on site know exactly what happened either.
Well, away from the ball, obviously.
But yeah, you see an incident where there's a headbutt, there's contact with the head, and the referee is saying, well, next time something happens, I'll make a decision. Each decision has to be based individually. And I think it was a culmination of things from the Cuban players that got the number 8 sent off. Well, it changes the complexion of this game.
Absolutely. Cuba down to 10 men here for basically the entire second half. It's Jordan Santa Cruz sent off.
It looks to me like they'll go to a 4-4-1. Michael Reyes as the lone striker. You can see more advanced than the rest.
Lamouche on it for El Salvador. Here's Mejia. Gomez. Rene Gomez to Ayala. Lamouche. Good turn there by Alfaro. Lamouche tries to cross. It's knocked out by Abel Martinez. It'll be a corner kick here for El Salvador as we are in our first and only minute of first half stoppage time. El Salvador plays it short. Enriquez knocked off the ball. Here's Reyes.
Although they're down to 10 men, there'll still be a threat on the counter-attack. Cuba with Reyes and his pace. But the onus is on El Salvador now to really hammer home this one-man advantage.
Lamouche. Seconds left here in the first half. Hernandez is down for Cuba. Yellow card coming out of the pocket of Raul Castro. And that's issued to Daniel Luis Saez.
Well, the frustration for the Cuban players is they felt it was contact. The challenge from the El Salvador defender. There's a lot of frustrated faces down there now. We're about to see the red card one again, is it? I mean, you saw the two players come together from Cuba and El Salvador, and the El Salvadorian defender gets there a split second too late. And immediately Cuba won a red card to even things up. That man lucky to only have a yellow card.
Throw in there for El Salvador, and Raul Castro blows the whistle, ending the first half. Keith, your quick impressions.
It's a third-place playoff match, and it's been played like that. Neither side have really pushed on and created many opportunities, and a very dull first 45 minutes.
Well, Cuba down to 10 men thanks to Jordan Santa Cruz being sent off. We're scoreless here at halftime. Back to Puebla with more after this. With you here on Fox Soccer, and certainly we hope for a more entertaining second half in the first 45.
I think the first thing we're going to look to is the formation of Cuba. They were 4-3-3 early on, but now they've lost a player. It looked to me like they went to a 4-4-1, with basically Michael Reyes as the lone striker, and a role he can play because he's got a lot of pace. So that'll be the first thing we watch for at the start of this second half.
Raul Castro, our referee, gets things back underway here. We got Cuba down to 10 men with Jordan Santa Cruz sent off with a straight red late in the first half. So it is advantage El Salvador here. And let's see if they push players forward here with the man advantage. Ayala distributes to the left. El Salvador in the all blue, Cuba in the all white. Gonzalez plays it to Ayala. Good ball into the box, and the header by Jose Pena, high and wide of the target.
Well, already we've seen more service than Pena got in the first 45 minutes. Good delivery in, and let's hope he's not too injured, because wanted to attack that ball, just didn't make enough contact on it. But an extra man should really tell for El Salvador in terms of being able to get forward a little bit quicker in possession.
Sandy Sanchez with the goal kick. Luis Saez gets it back for Cuba. Perez. And the substitution, Kevin Barahona, coming in for Melvin Alfaro. So Mauricio Alfaro going to his bench. The shot off the post, but it's not going to count anyway. Offside call.
But again, good positional play from Pena. Maybe just drifted slightly early, but found the pocket in between the fullback and the central defender. Struck the ball quite well. And 2 minutes in, we've seen more action from El Salvador in the final third than the first 45 minutes. Encouraging signs for their coach. I'm sure Mauricio Alfaro would have said to his side at halftime, look, the onus is on us now with that extra man to really go forward, make it count, and make a statement in this game.
Colado for Cuba. Jose Pena coming out much more active here in the second half. Reyes muscled off the ball. Dangerous play defensively there by Moises Mejia. And Reyes nearly put the ball in for Cuba.
Well, one thing you would say, with a lone striker, don't give him any opportunities. Don't give him silly giveaways. And that's what we saw from Moises Mejia. Trying to play that ball out. Just clear your lines. No one else is forward and get everybody back into defend again. Almost presented a goal for Cuba. And at this stage, presenting them a goal would give them something to defend. Poor decision from Mejia.
Enriquez for El Salvador. Foul there by Baquero. Linesman making the call. Good look at Jairo Enriquez. Ayala takes the free kick short. Ayala gets it back. Turns it over. Perez knocked off the ball. Here's Olivier Ayala. Rene Gomez. Mamouche knocked off the ball by Moisel Piedra. Gonzalez to Jose Pena. Enriquez. Ayala.
You can see there Ayala getting very far forward. The fullbacks can go forward now. It's not a 4-3-3 they're playing against, but Michael Reyes has the pace to exploit the gaps when they do go forward. We've seen a couple of times already. El Salvador do have the extra man. They are pushing forward. They all of a sudden look open at the back too.
Gomez. Ayala. A couple of more substitutes warming up here for El Salvador. Zavaleta plays it to Gomez. Cuba bench. Less active. Here's Enriquez playing it back to Kevin Ayala. Ayala.
Right idea. Again, we see Kevin Ayala very far forward on that right-hand side, looking to provide the width. That just allows the midfielders to become options in the box when the fullbacks get wide. And Cuba become very much a counter-attacking team in this second half.
Morales. Check that. Sanchez banks downfield. Here's Reyes, knocked off the ball. Ayala for El Salvador. Reyes, as you mentioned, Keith, now playing up front by himself.
You can see from his energy it's a role that he's done before, and it's a role he's quite capable of playing because he's got pace and can really stretch the two central defenders when the fullbacks go forward.
Pena for El Salvador. Good defending there by Martinez. Ayala. Hernandez. Labrada clears for Cuba. Throw it far side, El Salvador. Arajona, the sub Earns a throw-in here for El Salvador. Lamouche will take it. Cross comes in, and Sanchez brings it down.
Acrobatic in the end, almost one-handed taking that in. As I've said, El Salvador pushing on, pushing the fullbacks into the attack, and you'll see a more direct Cuba side in the second half, and a side that will look to use their pace to exploit El Salvador on the counter-attack, despite Cuba being a man down.
Vaquero.
Well, you can see what Vaquero was trying to do. Araquil Hernandez not happy with the decision. You can see how far off they've dropped now, Cuba, from Michael Reyes, who himself isn't putting much pressure on El Salvador further forward. The line has dropped a good 15 yards back into their own half of the field.
Gomez to the left. Lamouche. Mejia. Giovanni Zavaleta. Vaquero plays it to Perez. Luis Saez. Daniel Luis Saez back on it for Cuba. Reyes knocked off by Zavaleta. Enriquez. Jairo Enriquez for El Salvador. Cuba looked to counterattack. There's contact.
And then a foul. Cuba looking to counter. Dairon Perez on this left-hand side. I see just a late challenge.
Ayala, the guilty party.
Very professional foul, in fact, just stopping the break and allowing El Salvador to get their numbers back in.
Be a substitution here for El Salvador. The second is Galdamez coming in for Ayala.
Attack-minded substitution.
Diego Galdamez.
And you can see with that substitution that El Salvador intend to try go and win this game.
Rene Gomez, the captain. Be a throw in here near side for Cuba. 56th minute. Cuba, El Salvador still scoreless. Cuba again down to 10 men. Jordan Santa Cruz shown the red late in the first half.
You saw the body language from Michael Reyes saying he wanted the ball into his chest or to his feet. He didn't want to have to chase it in the channel there with two defenders covering. If El Salvador can frustrate Michael Reyes, that would really help their cause, because if he's disinterested, Cuba wouldn't have too many other attacking options.
Offside flagged against Jairo Enriquez. Nice. Good call.
I'll tell you what, it's close though. That first step, he does want to get in behind. We're supposed to get the benefit to the attacker, if my understanding is correct, but most times the benefit goes to the defender.
Barahona, long ball. Sanchez. Controls for Cuba.
The one thing we do have to say, John, is the energy from the band. This game has been absolutely incredible. They have been non-stop. There's no way they can keep this pace all day for the second game as well.
You can see some of the Mexico fans settling in for the nightcap.
Weren't you a band member in high school?
Yes, but not by choice. My parents forced me into it. I wonder why I'm the way I am today.
But it is
There
good.
you
It
go.
brings atmosphere to it. It's been a great tournament. I think Mexico have done a wonderful job hosting it, creating an atmosphere, having the band at games. Tonight, you don't need to create an atmosphere. It's USA against Mexico for the championship. It's exactly the game we had wanted, and it's the game we're going to get.
The Alexis Collado getting some ice to the forehead.
Strong challenge initially by both players, but early on it looked like El Salvador would create a lot more chances in this second half. See if they can do so here.
Enriquez for El Salvador. A bicycle kick, and that's well wide of the target. Good technique, but the effort by Roberto Gonzalez well off target.
Jairo Enriquez wanted to play the ball in front of Gonzalez, and Gonzalez just adjusts his feet very well here. He knew exactly what he wanted to do the minute that ball was played behind them. Acrobatic effort, but that's a difficult one to pull off.
So Sandy Sanchez with the goal kick here in the 60th minute. Enriquez for El Salvador. Gomez. Barahona. Lamouche continues his run down the left. Ball still in. Crossed by Lamouche, but a little too narrow there as Pena couldn't make the run at the near post. Perez for Cuba. Back to Andy Baquero. Andy Baquero takes a throw in here for Cuba. Reyes. Perez. Ball ran out.
Not sure why he waited so long. That was a good ball from Reyes, and Perez seemed to have his head up looking to where he was going to play it next, and because of that, he ran out of space at the end line. Good play from Reyes. Hasn't maybe shown his best performance in a Cuba jersey today, but you can see the attributes he has as a lone striker or a central striker in a 4-3-3.
Enriquez. Ayala. Good goal kick here for Cuba.
Haven't seen too much of the substitute Galdamez since he's come on. Got in the central area, hasn't got in possession.
'63rd minute. In this third place matchup, Cuba, El Salvador, at a snail's pace right now.
Sandy Sanchez, the way he took that last goal kick suggested he might have struck the ground before he kicked the ball, and seems to have injured his own foot. It was a poor clearance.
Sanchez getting medical attention here. Numbing spray.
The magic spray, we prefer to call it.
Oh, Mauricio Alfaro looks
lonely.
a little intense there on the sideline, sitting on the bench.
You come to these tournaments as a coach and you want to finish in the best possible position. So although we say third and fourth place match is really nothing on the line, you want to finish third as opposed to finishing fourth. You want to win that extra game for bragging rights, if nothing else.
Sanchez shakes it off. Do we have a goal in the final 26 minutes? I certainly hope so. Enriquez. Back to Ayala. Gomez. Back to Zavaleta. Gomez. Enriquez. Knocked off the ball here by Baquero. Andy Baquero. This is possession.
Well, Tab Ramos made a point. He said, we never felt Cuba could beat us when they had the ball. I think what he was saying was that maybe more of a counter-attacking team, that if you push on and you have possession and you lose it, they can hit you in the space in behind. And that's exactly what they're trying to do right now. Well, Salvador pushed the fullbacks on early, but they've been a little bit more cautious in their approach since then. Maybe because Reyes was causing trouble in behind.
Baquero, throw in for Cuba. Again, Cuba playing with 10 men as on Santa Cruz red carded in the 43rd minute.
And going back to that first half, it did look like Daniel Luis Saez is the man that probably deserved to be sent off. Reyes seems to favor coming over to this side, the right-hand side of the El Salvadorian back four.
Ayala turns it over, wins it back. Good touch there by Enriquez. Gonzalez looking for Enriquez, and he volleys it wide.
He hasn't been as effective as we've seen in other games in the tournament so far.
Sanchez. Baquero will take the throw in here near side for Cuba. Barahona plays it back to Moises Mejia. And Sanchez beats Jose Pena to the ball.
Well, even the band have given up on us now. You just want some urgency from El Salvador. They have the extra
man advantage, exactly.
Go forward, look to win this game.
Barahona turns it over. Band is back. They say cue the band.
Which we could cue some
Goal
mouth opportunities, yes. But again, as we keep saying, El Salvador, the onus on them. Push forward, get numbers in the box.
Enriquez knocked off the ball. Cuba sitting back tightly on defense. They look to counterattack. Good tackle though by Mejia. He beats Hernandez to the ball. Here is Arachil Hernandez.
Yeah, but Arachil, you could see the pace he had over Mejia. If that had been a straight race or a fair race, he would have won it. Luckily for Mejia, the ball a lot closer to him.
Collado, good ball. And Reyes wins a corner kick for Cuba.
So much pace throughout their side, Cuba. Hernandez on that right-hand side, Reyes down the middle. El Salvador have to be very sharp in possession because any lax passes, Cuba are onto it like a flash.
Tyrone Perez waltzing over to take this corner kick. In no hurry for Cuba. Perez. Morales again coming out. Just a little bit out of position. Here's Galdamez. Getting Hernandez to the ball. Hernandez still down. Referee will have none of it.
Well, he's sitting up. He's okay, so
of course.
I don't see the need to go back.
Ridiculous. Here's another look.
Well, there's contact on the face, and Galdamez brings his arm around again. I don't think it's malice, but he's talking to the referee. He's rolling around. If that's the case, he can walk to the sideline and get attention. Really no need to slow this game down any more than it is right now.
This game slow?
Slow would be a kind word at times for the way the game has gone, particularly more so in the first half. In the second half, we did see El Salvador create a couple of chances within the first few minutes. Cuba have looked a lot more comfortable in their counter-attacking system as the game has wore on, given they are a man down.
'72nd minute, Cuba, El Salvador, no score here in this third place match of the CONCACAF Under-20 Championship at the Estadio Cuauhtémoc here in Puebla. And Arachil Hernandez has somehow recovered.
I think he'll be okay. That's the prognosis.
He's going to make that flight back to Cuba. Doesn't really have a choice. Perez knocked off the ball by Barahona. Reyes loses possession. See if El Salvador can start to counterattack. The answer is no. Collado wins the ball for Cuba. Ayala to Galdamez. Galdamez to Gomez. Ayala. Good tackle there by Hernandez. Zavaleta for El Salvador.
The idea of the switch was right to really just stretch the Cuban back four, but the execution of the pass wasn't good enough. Barahona trying to give width on the left.
Cuba with the throw in. Reyes. Back to Piedra. Perez. Decent ball, but it's broken up by El Salvador.
That was because Cuba had one-on-one on that far post, and Andes making the run. Timely interception from the defender. Cuba have looked more comfortable as the second half has gone along. At first you thought they might be overrun. El Salvador might take advantage of that extra man, but Jose Pena, besides those two early chances in the second half, not much else for El Salvador.
Barahona. Loses it. Here comes Cuba. Good tackle, though, by Moises Mejia for El Salvador. The substitution here for Cuba. Arturo Adrian Dispe about to check in. And coming out is Arachil Hernandez.
Yeah, I didn't see as much of Hernandez as we would have expected. I don't think he's gone off because of the injury a couple of minutes ago either. But he is a pacey player who can offer a lot to the attack. Wasn't his best performance tonight, though.
Zavaleta for El Salvador. Ayala. Back to Giovanni Zavaleta. Mejia. Gomez. Enriquez. Ayala. Barahona will take the throw in here in the 77th minute for El Salvador. Got a sense of urgency, pushing forward. There's a good header, and what a save! Oh, Roberto Gonzalez robbed by Sandy Sanchez.
Well, the inquest in front begins. Cuban defenders arguing amongst themselves. Nevertheless, Sandy Sanchez saved him with a world-class piece of goalkeeping. That ball going in the bottom corner, gets around, not only saves it, but puts it away from danger. Best chance of the match so far. Sandy Sanchez was up to the task.
Corner kick here for El Salvador. shot skewed well high and wide by Rene Gomez.
Well, slack marking at the back when Cuba allowed the opportunity. I thought the header was placed very well indeed. Cross comes in. Good header.
Terrific save by Sanchez.
That's just good goalkeeping. Robert Gonzalez. The argument maybe could have gone a little bit more down with the header, put it in towards the bottom corner, but I thought he picked his spot. That's just very good goalkeeping.
Galdamez for El Salvador to Gomez. Galdamez. Defended by Arturo Adrian Dispe. Good turn by Reyes. Mikel Reyes working against Moises Mejia. Reyes still on it for Cuba. Long strides, too much on that touch.
You saw everything you need to know about Mikel Reyes' game there. He has the ability to stretch a back four, got good pace, but technically still very raw. I'm sure there's a lot of people watching him play in this tournament saying there's a good player inside him if he develops. Got all the physical attributes.
Rangy, fast. As you said, still needs to work on the technical side of his game.
But you can even see in the approach from El Salvador, they're very wary of Reyes on the counter-attack. It's one of the reasons why the fullbacks pushed early on and immediately came back in when Reyes started exploiting the space in those gaps.
Ayala. Enriquez. Jairo Enriquez runs out of space.
That's a good challenge from the defender as well. Labrada comes across. Enriquez looking for the foul, but the defender has every right to come across, and it's not like he checked the run. He just absorbed the run as Enriquez came in.
El Salvador all blue, Cuba all white. We're in the 81st minute here. Still scoreless here in this CONCACAF Under-20 Championship third place match. Gomez. Enriquez. Ayala. Gomez to Galdamez. Looking for Barahona, too much on that ball.
Well, Kevin Barahona maybe attacked that one just slightly too early, made the angle that bit more difficult. Galdamez hoping to exploit the space, but really was no space with El Salvador so narrow. Well, that Sandy Sanchez save, definitely the best moment of the second half.
Sanchez blasts it downfield. Dispe couldn't win the header. Hernandez getting some medical attention on the bench. Ayala. Enriquez. Free kick here.
A very dangerous position. Gonzalez again just tackled from behind, just the angle of the challenge, making it easy for the referee to give the decision El Salvador's way.
So they're looking to foul.
It was just more of a innocuous colliding of the two legs, but because it came from behind, the free kick is given.
Eastman Gonzalez. So it'll be a 5-man wall here for Cuba. '83rd minute. Enriquez and Ayala both over it. It's Enriquez, and the wall does its job. And then Galdamez loses his footing. Just over 7 minutes to go, plus stoppage time. Barahona wins the header for El Salvador. Lamouche. Back to Barahona. Gomez. Over to the right to Enriquez. Good move by Enriquez. Near post run by Pena. That's a good ball too. Sent in by Enriquez, but nobody there for El Salvador.
The first time we've seen Enriquez commit to defender, and he struck that cross with venom. And Sanchez took no chances. Very strong hands from the goalkeeper. Here we see, just goes by the defender like he's not there. And Sanchez, under pressure as well, gets that ball clear. He's done well, the goalkeeper. Not great defending by Dairon Perez on Cuba's left-hand side. We'll credit Enriquez with a very good cross.
Minute 85. As we head toward ET, extra time.
I don't think there's too many people watching this game hoping for an extra 30 minutes of this game. But I will say the pace has picked up over the last 3 or 4 minutes. El Salvador, a couple of opportunities getting the ball into the area.
Galdamez. Pena was open.
I saw the defender almost making a challenge. Labrada coming across, and be very careful inside the area.
Corner kick here for El Salvador. Hey, at least the Mexico fans who have filed in here for the championship game get a little extra taste of entertainment if we head toward extra time.
The warm-up act is hopefully going to provide a thrilling finish.
Salvador with the corner kick. Sanchez came out. And Castro trying to break up the little scrum in front. Pena.
I'd like to see this again because I'm maybe from the old school in the sense that I feel like the goalkeepers get way too much protection on these kind of deliveries, and Sanchez got his hand to it, but he was claiming Pena challenged. That's what Pena's there to do. He has to challenge for that ball.
Pena trying to get the ball to Gonzalez. Enriquez from distance, and it's off the post. Oh boy, Jairo Enriquez that close to ending this one.
A real moment of class. Didn't have much of a backlift on the effort, but got so much power. Sanchez was well beaten as well.
What an effort there by Enriquez from about 30 yards out.
Struck it so well. See, not much backlift on it. And the keeper, a valiant effort to get across, but he would have been beaten by the pace of it. That was not even inches, just centimeters away from a goal.
Here's Enriquez on it again. Ayala.
What's an awful delivery from Ayala. Gonzalez telling him to just watch where the runs are going. Well overhit. Nobody at that back post.
Sanchez. Downfield. Lamouche tracking it down for El Salvador. Gomez. Ayala. Enriquez back to Kevin Ayala. Ayala for El Salvador, 89th minute. Gonzalez to Ayala. Enriquez. Throw in here for Cuba. In the 89th minute. Reyes can't keep it in. Gomez. Gomez again. Ayala. Enriquez. Shot deflected by Gonzalez. And again, Sanchez left wrong-footed. And that man, Jairo Enriquez, has been the liveliest player by far for El Salvador here in the last 10 minutes.
Particularly in the last 10 minutes. I think lively is a strong word for any player before the 80th minute in this game. But a couple of opportunities, of course, that long-range hit. And we've seen already in this tournament, he has the ability to change the game.
Minutes of second half stoppage time.
Luis Saez has made some rash challenges. He's had a headbutt today, and he's made it through 90 minutes. That's another crunching challenge. Lucky boy.
Enriquez. Ayala. Oh, near post run! And there's your game winner for El Salvador. And it's Roberto Gonzalez. And El Salvador are going to come away with the third place trophy here. And a deserved goal for El Salvador, who definitely pressed the action here in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah, they've taken it upon themselves to go forward, and obviously with that extra man, making it count. You make it count in wide areas. You get the ball into this kind of area for Ayala. Good delivery, and well attacked from Roberto Gonzalez. The goalkeeper comes out, just leaves that narrow angle at that near post. Gonzalez attacks it, finds the back of the net. And I would be safe to say, besides the Cuban squad, every single player in the stadium delighted to see that ball go in the back of the net. It's been coming for El Salvador. And on the balance of play in the second half, I would say they deserved it.
Well, with the man advantage, the game finally coming to life in the last 15 minutes or so, and Roberto Gonzalez, barring a last-minute miracle here from Cuba, is going to wrap up the victory here for El Salvador. And as we mentioned, Jairo Enriquez has been instrumental in pressing forward here. Had the shot ring off the post. And El Salvador look like they're going to get the deserved game winner here.
You said they're going to get a trophy. I'm not too sure there's many third place trophies on hand. The bragging rights, I think, would be the best statement. The game has picked up in the second 45. I think we've seen moments of skill going forward from El Salvador. We saw pockets of counter-attacking ability from Cuba. So overall, the game did improve. But on the balance of 90 minutes, El Salvador get a deserved win.
Raul Castro blows the whistle ending this one, and Roberto Gonzalez earns El Salvador the 1-0 victory with the goal in second half stoppage time. Nothing Sandy Sanchez could do about that. And Michael Reyes in Cuba will have to board the plane back to Cuba as 1-0 losers here in our third place match, Keith.
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously the red card changes the game. I think Cuba had a lot to offer going forward in a 4-3-3, but all of a sudden you lose a man through their own fault, and then El Salvador have a lot more of the possession, created the better chances, and ultimately deserving of this victory. So credit to them and credit the way both teams have played throughout the tournament, as they will both move on, of course, to the World Cup.
You can see the Cuba players taking this loss hard. 10-man Cuba falling to El Salvador 1-0 here at the Estadio Cuauhtémoc in Puebla, Mexico, in this third place match. So Cuba falling to El Salvador 1